Welcome to Poplar Pulmonary Wellness. Today we have Keira McFarlane with us. Keira is a registered dietitian since 2017. Keira, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Keira, people are probably wondering, what is a registered dietitian? And I've heard of a nutritionist. Is that something different?
Yeah, great question. So there is a difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist. The main thing being that a nutritionist is not a protected term. So anyone, anywhere can call themselves a nutritionist, and it doesn't mean they have any kind of specific education for it. Whereas to be a registered dietitian, you have to complete its minimum of a 4-year bachelor's degree with 1 year of professional placements, and or a master's degree, depending on where you go. So it's minimum 5 years of education. And then from there, you need to pass the Canadian Dietetic Registration exam, and then you have to register with your own province. And then every year you have to complete like ongoing education, keep up your competencies, and that's how you remain a registered dietitian. So the education component is the huge difference between the two.
Wow, that is a lot of education.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Tons of knowledge about food, eating, and nutrition. So how can a dietitian help people living with chronic lung conditions?
Yeah. So really, like anyone living with a chronic disease can benefit from seeing a dietitian. As far as lung conditions go, especially something like COPD, asthma, where you're working harder to simply breathe, that's really draining on a person. And, a dietitian can help support you in making sure that you're getting, enough to eat, that you're getting what you need to eat, and that all of that works together to help you feel better and, manage your condition better and, ultimately have a better quality of life. That would be the biggest role there. And whether that's supporting you to put on some weight, which can be the case, or, to help you kind of manage your weight or lose weight if that's needed to help you feel better, we can work in all those different scopes.
Amazing. I've heard the term balanced meals or balanced meal planning. Can you speak about that? What is that?
Yeah, so balanced meals is really like the hallmark of healthy eating. And it's something that all of us should be striving to do, regardless of our health conditions. But especially if you have a chronic disease, it's especially helpful. And it's this idea where each of our meals contains, lots of vegetables to it. We've got a source of carbohydrates there. So whether that's things like rice, pasta, bread, and then we want to have a source of protein as part of the meal as well. So that can be obviously animal-based like meat. It can also be a plant-based one, beans, legumes, tofu, that kind of thing. But ideally, we want all of our meals to have those components in them. And this helps us to, be satisfied from our meal, to actually feel full. It can help keep us full for a bit longer. And it also helps prevent our blood sugar from doing big spikes, going up, going down, which then makes us feel really tired. So that's kind of the idea behind that. And it also helps make sure that you're getting a variety of nutrients from all of these different foods.
I've heard of, Canada's Healthy Plate or Canada's Food Guide. Are those good places for people to start, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So the new Canada's Food Guide, if you haven't seen it, is basically it's a plate, just a big plate. And half of the plate is filled up with like non-starchy vegetables and fruit. A quarter of the plate is filled up with your carbohydrates or your starch. And the last quarter is filled with protein. And that is kind of makes up like a perfect balanced meal. So if you're looking for a place to start, that's a really good one. And you don't have to worry about like measuring your food or taking stock of how much of each thing you're having. If your meals generally kind of make up that kind of composition, and that can be within a mixed meal as well. It doesn't have to be this separate, like vegetables, carb, protein. It can be a mixed meal, but that's kind of the best starting place to go. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good to know we're on the right track.
Yes.
Um, all right. So the one thing that our clients do have trouble with sometimes is fatigue and managing energy levels. And so we know that nutrition can be a big part of that. Is there something you could, little nuggets of information that might be able to help people with that?
Yeah. So, yes, fatigue can be a big thing when you're already working harder to breathe. Absolutely. So, we look at a few different things here, like one of them actually being just the timing of our meals and when we're eating. So, throughout the day, we don't want to go more than, say, 5 to 6 hours at maximum, like during our waking hours, of course, without having something to eat. And that just kind of helps keep energy levels up a bit more. And it stops our blood sugars from doing a big dip from getting us really tired. So the meal timing is important. And then the other piece, of course, is looking at like what you're having to eat. And this is where you might want to pick foods that are a bit softer, or are a bit kind of richer in energy. So, maybe for a snack, you want to just have like, some Greek yogurt with like applesauce or something like that, something where you're not having to expend a lot of energy to actually chew the food, but you're still getting nutritious food in. That can be a strategy. So trying to pick things that are softer, that are easier to chew, easier to get in, that, from a preparation standpoint, don't take a lot of effort on your part either. That can all help. And then if you just have trouble like getting food in general, or you're, needing to put some weight on, that's where you might want to look for the richer versions of the food. So, instead of going for that skim milk or the skim dairy products, trying to choose the higher fat options, because gives you a bit more kind of bang for your buck that way. So if you're already spending a lot of energy, trying to get food in, trying to eat, you want to make it count, and you want to kind of make it give you the most that you can get from it. So that's another strategy, is to look for kind of some of those products. And then really making sure you're getting a little bit of protein each time you eat is also important. Protein helps us maintain our muscles, which, keep us stronger, keep us feeling better. So, so yeah, getting some protein in is really important. And again, like that can be through meat, it can be through plant-based sources. Dairy can be a really good source of protein, things like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, eggs. So there's lots of foods out there. So really, like in summary, watching kind of the timing of when you're eating. And for some people, maybe having like 3 big meals a day just doesn't cut it. That doesn't work for you. So it's okay to have more of like a grazing style of eating, where you're eating smaller amounts throughout the day. Some people find that to be a bit less kind of fatiguing on them. And then, yeah, making sure that you're having a protein source each time you eat. And then even leaning into some of those kind of higher energy or higher fat kind of products if getting food in is really a challenge.
Wow, those are a lot of great tips. Thank you. That's a lot to digest. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we have some clients. So some people know that they're underweight and that they need to gain weight. Some people know that they're overweight and they need to lose weight. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to be in that middle zone and they're just not really sure where they're at.
Yeah.
Can a dietitian help people to know, what's your healthy weight?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we can help with. And there's a lot more to it than that, just, that classic BMI or body mass index scale. We look at a lot more factors than just that to help determine if you're at like a healthy and good weight for yourself. But it's something that we can definitely talk about and definitely kind of help you figure out for sure. And sometimes for managing health conditions too, like it might feel like, oh my gosh, I need to lose tons and tons of weight to help my blood sugars or whatever the problem might be. But often it's even just little bits of weight loss, like even 5 to 10% of your starting body weight can make a huge difference in your blood work and how you feel. So, even if we say, okay, yeah, like, maybe we want to try to get that weight down just a little bit. Like, don't feel discouraged about that. Don't feel like it's, you've done something wrong. You haven't. Like, weight's just another kind of piece of our health. But yeah, so we can definitely discuss kind of where your weight's at and what your goals might be, and kind of let you know if we feel like this is a healthy spot for you.
Perfect. That's great to know. I think people would be very encouraged to hear that, because you do hear like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to lose so much, but actually a little bit does make such a huge difference.
Yeah,
So that's great.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on our little interview program here, Keira. It was great to hear all of the words of wisdom that you had to say. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's always nice to show like what a dietitian can do and how we can help with people's health, because I think people kind of think, oh, they just work in, diabetes or meal planning, but we can really help with kind of health in general, regardless of what's going on. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so people are looking to get in touch with a dietitian. So they need to look up Registered Dietitian for
Yes.
sure. Is there a
Yes.
website or something that they could go to find if
So
they're
Dietitians of Canada, I believe, has like a registry. And then you can also look through, specifically for BC, the College of Dietitians of BC. They're going to have a list of all the registered dietitians in the province. And I do believe on there it shows like if the dietitian works in private practice or other kind of areas. So, if you're going to see someone, it's not a bad idea to look them up and make sure that they are what they say they are. And then often, like, you are able to access dietitians through the health authority that you're in. But other ways to do it is, there's certain dietitians that work in private practice. You can reach out to them. That usually has a fee with it. And then you can also access a dietitian through 811 HealthLink BC. So that's over the phone and it's free. There's no cost with it. So that's another option if you don't have any luck the other ways.
great. Thank you. I do have one other question.
Yeah.
As we are seeing most of our clients online, is it
Mhm.
possible for someone to have a dietitian consult online?
Absolutely. Yes. So it can even be done like over the phone if your internet's not great or Zoom is a challenge for you, that's perfectly fine. Like we can work over the phone, we can work virtually, we can do it in person. It's kind of whatever suits the needs of the person we're talking to, for sure.
Great. Thank you. Thanks once again for joining us. That is super helpful, Keira. And thank you very much. We like to say, get out there and live your best long life.
Love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.